And joining me now is the founding editor of TheWire.in, Siddharth Varadarajan, the former editor-in-chief of the Times of India, Dilip Padgaonkar, the former editor-in-chief of Lok Satta, Kumar Ketkar, the well-known Asian Age columnist Ashok Malik, Supreme Court lawyer Sanjay Hegde, BJP spokesperson GVL Narasimha Rao, and Congress spokesperson Priyanka Chaturvedi. Siddharth Varadarajan, let me start with what I think is the key issue. Is it a justified humanitarian gesture, or is it improper to help a man whose passport has been revoked by your own government, and secondly, against whom the Enforcement Directorate has issued a blue corner notice, to obtain from the British government travel documents so he can accompany his wife for a cancer surgery? What's your answer?
You know, I think that you can't rule out humanitarian considerations operating in such a situation, but the question that comes to my mind is, what is the kind of due diligence that Sushma Swaraj and the Ministry of External Affairs did in assessing the validity of this claim that he made? For example, the nature of the surgery the wife is undertaking, what kind of a consent requirement do the Portuguese have that would have Mr. Modi physically travel to Lisbon? Could this not have been done some other way? If indeed there is a humanitarian case for him to go there, could not the travel document obtained for him be of a very specific short duration? So these are all questions that come to mind, even if one accepts that, you know, even in the case of an ED wanted person, there could well be humanitarian considerations. I think why Sushma Swaraj didn't explore these other options is what is what makes the whole thing look very suspicious.
I want very much to take up all those elements of the due diligence that should have been done. Perhaps it was done, perhaps it wasn't. But before that, I want to come, Kumar Ketkar, to something very explicit. It's now absolutely clear that in 2013, Mr. Chidambaram, who was then finance minister, explicitly asked George Osborne, the British Chancellor of the Exchequer, not to help Lalit Modi, indicating that if such help were given, it would affect India's relations with Britain. Mrs. Swaraj explicitly overturned this stand of the government, allegedly on humanitarian grounds. Do you believe she did this on her own, or do you believe she would have consulted the Prime Minister, because this was overturning a government position, not just an individual position?
Well, actually, the way the government is functioning these days, it is clear that I don't think Sushma Swaraj would take any decision of this kind without consulting Narendra Modi. I think obviously she must have consulted, and now they are trying to cover up. The second point is that it is almost after 10 months the whole email private correspondence is being revealed to the press. Now this is not somebody who has hacked the mail. Obviously the mails have come to the media from somebody inside. So it is kind of an insider trading, insider media trading that is going on, and therefore there is a lot to it. A factional fight within the BJP, but certainly Narendra Modi is definitely covering himself by putting Sushma Swaraj on the guillotine. Okay. So the question is not whether Sushma Swaraj should have sympathies for her consideration.
Mr. Ketkar, let's stick narrowly to the facts for the moment. We'll come to speculation later. Let me bring something else to your attention, Mr. Hegde. You are a Supreme Court lawyer. Does the fact that just about a month after Sushma Swaraj helped Modi obtain travel documents, the Delhi High Court then restored his passport, justify and validate what Sushma did a month earlier?
No, it does not. Because there are two things. The question before the Delhi High Court was, did he deserve to get his Indian passport back? What Mrs. Swaraj seems to have done was to have asked another country to give him a temporary travel document. Essentially, she broke ranks with the government of India. If you can't, the government of India can't speak in two voices. You can't have the finance ministry saying, we want this man back, therefore we are cancelling his passport. And you can't have the external affairs ministry saying, no, you give him your own document, we will not really object. Because the government of India has always to speak in one voice.
You know, the interesting thing about your answer is that it contradicts what Sushma Swaraj offers in her original tweets as a sort of justification. She says, and I'm quoting, I may also state that only a few days later, the Delhi High Court quashed the UPA government's order impounding Lalit Modi's passport on the ground that the said order was unconstitutional, being violative of fundamental rights. What you're saying to me is that what happens after she took that decision doesn't validate her decision, because she broke ranks with her own government at a time when government policy was that he shouldn't have a passport.
Absolutely. This is apples and oranges. The question was, did he need a passport, and what passport? The Indian passport. It was her department which was defending the government stance in court. The government's denial of passport was being defended by the External Affairs Ministry before the Delhi High Court.
And she contradicted that as well by
she absolutely did.
Asking for help to give him a British travel document.
That was a subterfuge.
G.V.N. Narasimha Rao, I want to put a very specific question to you. If Mrs. Swaraj felt that there was a need on humanitarian grounds to help Mr. Modi, why did she not ask the Indian High Commission in London to issue him a passport for a strictly limited period to enable him to go to Portugal? And secondly, why did she not use that opportunity to strike some sort of arrangement with Mr. Modi and say, we'll help you go to Portugal for your wife's cancer surgery, but after that you have to agree to come to India to answer enforcement directive questions. This was an opportunity for her to do that. Why didn't she?
Karan, I think since she was interacting, the permission or the travel document was to be issued by the British authorities. I don't think Indian High Commission does not have any role to play there. I think the foreign minister is the head of the department, head of the ministry.
Mr. Rao, I have to interrupt you, and I don't want to, but I have to, because you're slightly misleading the audience. You see, the reason why Sushma Swaraj was contacted was because, in fact, Mr. Chidambaram in 2013 had told George Osborne, the British Chancellor, not to help Lalit Modi, and that if Lalit Modi was helped, it would have an adverse impact. That's why the first application for a British travel document was refused. It was to overcome that obstacle that Mrs. Swaraj was contacted, and she then said there would be no impact, thus removing the obstacle that was placed there by Mr. Chidambaram. And what I'm saying to you is, rather than help him in that way, why did she not ask the Indian High Commission to give him a limited duration passport? And secondly, add that we are only doing this if you agree to come to India after Portugal to answer questions.
I think, Karan, I don't think, since the matter was pending before a Delhi court, Indian court, she could not have issued him a fresh passport when the passport itself was revoked. So Indian government was not in a position to directly help him either with the passport, and only that's absolutely the position.
No, it's not the position. What was in front of the court? What was in front of the court was the revocation of the passport, not the issuing of one. Therefore, if the government decided to change its mind and issue the passport it had revoked, there'd have been no court case at all.
I don't think so. I think you please ask a lawyer on your panel when the passport was revoked.
Here he is. Go ahead, Mr. Hegde. Go ahead, Mr. Hegde.
Mr. Rao, the question before the Delhi High Court was the revocation of the passport. At any point of time, the government of India could have said that we are revoking that revocation order. But here the minister had one problem. She could not have said it, more so because her daughter was representing Mr. Modi.
Absolutely.
Now so she really was conflicted.
Let's then come at this point to some of the key facts. Very quickly, go ahead, Mr. Rao. Go ahead.
I think the limited question that was before the External Affairs Minister was there was a request, there was a clarification sought as to whether relations with the UK would suffer because a travel document was to be made available to Mr. Lalit Modi as per his request. And that was the only issue that Mrs. Sushma Swaraj had to address at that point of time. She is not handling the entire issue concerning Mr. Lalit Modi.
You're very good at narrowing the ambit of the decision she had to take to simply that limited question whether relations with Britain would suffer if he was given a travel document. But frankly speaking, the context will suddenly show that in fact your narrowing of the ambit is not just mistaken and wrong, it's actually an attempt to exonerate Sushma Swaraj from potential wrongdoing. Let me bring in Ashok Malik and use this opportunity to raise some of the wider issues. Ashok Malik, here's the context in which Sushma Swaraj acted. In 2013, Lalit Modi played a role in helping Sushma Swaraj's nephew Jyotirmay Kaushal obtain a place at a British university. Secondly, Her daughter was one of the team of lawyers that had fought in the Delhi High Court to help Lalit Modi get his passport back. Some channels suggest she was in fact his lawyer for 7 years. Thirdly, some channels are saying that Swaraj Kaushal, Sushma Swaraj's husband, was in fact Lalit Modi's lawyer for 22 years. Do these three facts have a bearing on how we should view Sushma Swaraj's gesture of helping Modi obtain travel documents?
You see, Karan, let me answer that by again expanding the ambit of your question. You are quite right in suggesting, as you did to Mr. Narasimha Rao, that Sushma Swaraj could have used the opportunity to strike a deal with Lalit Modi and say, we'll go to the court, we'll tell them we're going to issue you a short duration Indian passport, please see your wife and attend to your family duties and then come back to India. That was very possible. Perhaps she took a call in that telling the British to give him a British travel document was the best option. I believe it was an honest judgment, an honest error of judgment perhaps, and maybe in given the notoriety, the extraordinary notoriety of Mr. Lalit Modi, a case of misplaced compassion. What would have helped is if this matter had been made public, and this decision that Mr. Swaraj took
but you're avoiding the question I asked.
Last year itself.
But Mr. Malik, you're avoiding the question I asked. I asked you about the context. The context is defined A by the 2013 help that Lalit Modi gave her nephew getting into a British university, B by the fact that her daughter was his lawyer, and C by the fact that her husband had allegedly been his lawyer for 22 years. And I'm saying in that context, should she have helped a man who was her daughter's client and her husband's client?
I think the first and third don't matter at all, because Swaraj Kaushal is a lawyer of 40 years standing. He couldn't argue that he knew Lalit Modi professionally well before his wife became minister, even in the first NDA government. The admission process, you could ask friends for advice on admission to a foreign university. There is no evidence that Lalit Modi organized the admission at Sussex University. He may have given some advice.
Just a moment. Lalit Modi, I'm just stopping you because we need to be factually correct. We need to be factually correct. Lalit Modi, as the emails and as the Sunday Times article reveals, contacted Keith Vaz, who in turn said to Lalit Modi, send me the young lad's CV and other documents. One assumes that there was therefore some help given by the two of them. And Mrs.
We can't assume. We can't assume that. We need to check with Sussex University whether the young man got admission only because of Keith Vaz and Lalit Modi or not.
The word only is critical in your answer. The word only is the critical one in your answer, isn't it? You said only because of.
Coming to the fact that Sushma Swaraj's daughter was part of a 12-member legal team that assisted a senior advocate. As I said, if Mrs. Swaraj had made this matter public there and then, perhaps there would not have been a controversy.
Okay.
I think in that she erred.
Let me bring in Dilip Padgaonkar on that critical point, because I think it is a critical issue. Dilip Padgaonkar, we're actually asking the question whether the context and background in which Sushma Swaraj acted on humanitarian grounds to help Mr. Lalit Modi get a British travel document is central to judging whether it was genuinely humanitarian or whether it was done for wrong purposes. And the context is A, that in 2013 Lalit Modi played a role in helping her nephew Jyotirmoy Kaushal get a place at a British university. Secondly, her daughter was one of Lalit Modi's team of lawyers helping him get his passport back. Thirdly, her husband had a relationship. Some channels say he was in fact Lalit Modi's lawyer for 22 years. Do those three facts, which constitute the context and the background, have a bearing on how we should view Sushma Swaraj's humanitarian gesture?
The context, Karan, is certainly important, but I don't think the context is crucial.
Dilip Padgaonkar, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Go ahead and answer.
Look, Karan, I'm saying that the context is important, but it is not crucial in this case. What is crucial in this case is that the argument trotted out about humanitarian grounds has fallen flat. It is obvious that that particular phrase that was used is something that the water simply doesn't hold. The fact is that Mr. Lalit Modi told Sushma Swaraj that he needed to be with his wife because he had to sign a certain number of consent papers.
Okay.
The Portuguese laws are very clear. You do not need to be present or indeed sign any consent papers. There are other ways of obtaining that.
Dilip, I'm going to stop you. Forgive me, this phone line is not clear enough. I'm going to ask my producers to reconnect and at least ensure that we have a proper phone line, and I will come back to you again. But I didn't get the gist of his answer, and I think it's so critical to this discussion that I'm going to put that question to you. How important is this context of the relationship between Lalit Modi, Mrs. Swaraj's daughter, Mrs. Swaraj's husband, Mrs. Swaraj's nephew?
The context is all important, because what it does is that it converts what could arguably be described as a bad judgment call into something that may be much more than that. Judges recuse themselves from cases on conflicts of interest that are much less pronounced than in this particular case. I think it was highly improper for Sushma Swaraj as leader of the opposition to have contacted a fugitive from the Indian law to ask for his help. It's a different matter whether that help really, whether Modi and Vaz delivered.
What about his foreign minister helping someone who in fact is her daughter's client and possibly her husband's client?
I'm saying that there's a whole sequence here, right? So as LOP and then as foreign minister, there's an obvious conflict.
So it gets worse and worse and worse.
What she should have done is to have broad-based the decision.
Mr. Ketkar, let me bring up a second element of the background within which this particular humanitarian gesture happened. Mrs. Swaraj claims that she intervened because Lalit Modi needed to go to Portugal to sign the consent papers for his wife's surgery. Now, in fact, if you go to the European Union website, europatientrights.eu, it says, and I'm quoting, a written consent is not required in Portugal. Secondly, if you have a critical surgery and you are in London, most people would prefer to get it done in London rather than go to Portugal. What do you make of those two facts?
Absolutely right. I mean, for a person like Lalit Modi with so much of wealth with him, why should he go to Portugal for such a surgery when it was distinctly possible to be carried out in London itself, and with so much of Indian establishment of doctors in London? So I think it was absolutely, there is something being hidden in entire thing. And how such a decision, when the courts are already discussing about it, could be taken by Sushma Swaraj without consulting Narendra Modi? For every small thing they were consulting Narendra Modi. I don't think Sushma Swaraj would take such a decision which could have become controversial without consulting Narendra Modi. And therefore, there is something which is not being disclosed despite disclosure of all these private mails which are not hacked but leaked.
Priyanka Chaturvedi, I want to raise with you something that in fact your party at its press conference revealed today, but to be honest, your party was not making a great discovery. It was originally revealed by the Sunday Times in Britain yesterday. And that is the fact that Keith Vaz had written to Sarah Rapson, the Director General of UK Visas and Immigration, saying that Lalit Modi should be given travel papers for two reasons. The first reason was to accompany his wife for cancer treatment in Portugal, but the second reason was to attend a family wedding. Does the family wedding dilute and detract from the urgency and alleged legitimacy of the cancer treatment?
No, absolutely. Even if you know, Mr. Lalit Modi is quite flamboyant himself and he's very active on social media. And if you go by the photographs that he has been sharing on his various accounts, you would realize that cancer treatment was just one of the reasons for him to get his travel documents in place. What also needs to be understood is how Ms. Sushma Swaraj took a call by saying that no bilateral relations would be affected if he is given the travel documents, and then she preempts the court judgment, High Court judgment, and after the High Court judgment passes an order, they do not even choose to challenge it in the higher court.
Yeah, but that's a different issue. Priyanka Chaturvedi, try and stick to the question I asked you rather than use this as an opportunity to make other points, because then we'll go out of kilter. I'll take up all those points one by one, but please answer my question. And I'm coming back to my question because it's critical. To what extent does the fact revealed by the Sunday Times and then secondly revealed afterwards by your party today that there were two reasons for wanting travel documents and that the second reason was to attend a family wedding, to what extent does that dilute the legitimacy of the claim this was done on humanitarian grounds because his wife needed cancer treatment?
Absolutely.
Answer that.
Absolutely, it dilutes the entire perspective or the reason that Ms. Sushma Swaraj has been sharing on Twitter. She has used Twitter to share her reasons why she agreed for the travel documents to be issued to him. First is the wedding is one thing. Second is your own argument where you said as per Portugal norms, no such consent is needed. So it was just a fig leaf of an excuse that Ms. Sushma Swaraj was using to clarify her stand. very clearly she is guilty of not following the protocol, not following the rules and regulations for someone.
There is one other possibility. There is one other possibility that in fact Sushma Swaraj was misled by a wily, clever, crafty Lalit Modi. That in fact she was only given part of the story, that the visa, that the travel document was needed for his wife's cancer treatment purposes and not to attend a family wedding, that being a kind and generous woman, even if she did something that she shouldn't have, she helped him. But she did it because she was misled. That is a possibility, even if you don't want to accept it.
No, Mr. Thapar, I'd beg to differ simply because someone who's as senior in rank, who has served in the previous government as well, would totally be unaware of the charges that Mr. Lalit Modi faces back home and how there's a blue corner notice issued by the Enforcement Directorate, how Ministry of Finance is involved, and I'm very certain that it's not just her call to take. She wouldn't take such a big chance considering Mr. Narendra Modi has been as minutely involved as wanting to know what his minister is wearing when he's on his way to the airport. So very clearly it suggests that everybody was in the loop when she took this call, and she broke the protocol, she broke the rules and regulations to assist Lalit Modi to get his travel documents, and not challenging the High Court order also seems to, there's a pattern which emerges where you're clearly trying to help Lalit Modi out or bail him out.
Certainly a suspicion, even if it's not a pattern. A pattern suggests something a bit perhaps more decisive. But let me come back to you, Sanjay Hegde, and put this to you. It's not just that the travel document was needed for a family wedding in addition to accompanying his wife for cancer treatment. The Sunday Times has also in Britain revealed something else. That after his wife's cancer surgery on the 4th of August last year, he then travelled to Ibiza in Greece for a family holiday. So that travel document facilitated not just his wife's cancer treatment, where he needed to accompany her, not just a family wedding, but also a family holiday in Greece. Now, does that put a different complexion on the whole thing?
These are all events that have occurred after the decision was taken. You have to look at the decision itself. And that decision was suspect, primarily because even if you wanted to give him a travel document, you would have recorded that these are the reasons why he needs a temporary travel document. You would have had taken advice from your officials as to whether there was any way that that the government could ask the finance ministry whether they seriously objected, taken everybody on board before you arrive at a final decision. Right now, this is a minister flying solo.
Can I interrupt? We assume it's a minister flying solo because at the moment the suggestion from sources is that the finance ministry or the ED were not consulted before she asked the British High Commissioner or she spoke to Keith Vaz to say help him get a British travel document. How bad a lapse would it be if she failed to consult others and did this herself solo, as you put it, on alleged humanitarian grounds? How bad a lapse would that be?
That would certainly be a lapse, totally against the rules of transactions of business. Ultimately, a minister is as much bound by departmental advice, and if he overrules departmental advice, it has to be for very good reason and it has to be recorded.
Dilip Wadhankar, in her defense, Sushma Swaraj yesterday tweeted the following, and I'm quoting her: "What benefit did I pass on to Lalit Modi? What is it that I changed?" And the question I want to put to you is this: does the fact that she helped Modi get travel documents that are valid not just for a single trip to Portugal but are valid till March 2016, which he then used for a variety of travel, including trips for fun to Venice and Cuba, suggests that she actually conferred upon him a huge benefit, which otherwise, without her help, he would never have got, because Mr. Chidambaram had stopped it?
Obviously, she gave him a huge benefit, Karan, because once again, one has to go back to the original decision. The original decision lacked, to put it very mildly, propriety. And as you get to know more and more of what's happening, is getting murky. The fact is, go back to the original decision. Was protocol observed? Was due process observed? And the answer each time is no. What happened after he got the travel documents is another story altogether. But I think one must be totally fixated, so to speak, on the original decision. How did it come about? Who was consulted? Was everyone in the loop? You mentioned earlier in the discussion that our High Commission in London was not in the loop. Now that again, I believe, is a breach of protocol. But more than protocol, propriety is something that we need to probe much deeper. We need to get many answers to many questions which have been raised, and these have not been forthcoming. And they have not been forthcoming, Karan, also because every time you raise an embarrassing question, the BJP spokesperson always refers to some faux pas of the previous regime, the Congress regime. But that is not, again, germane to this discussion.
Absolutely.
So please explain to us, why is it that this particular decision was taken? Was it on humanitarian grounds? That argument has fallen flat.
Let me bring in GV Narasimha Rao. GV Narasimha Rao, you're here representing the government, you're here representing your party, the BJP. What you heard from Dilip Padgaonkar is that this decision taken by Mrs. Swaraj was improper. It breached all the rules and requirements of propriety. It breached the rules and requirements also of protocol. Propriety, by the way, is a form of transparency and honesty. Impropriety equates pretty much with corruption, maybe not financial corruption, but moral corruption. Now, when you take decisions to benefit someone who may have helped your nephew, you're returning a quid pro quo, some would say. When you take decisions to benefit someone who is your daughter's client, there is another breach of propriety. When you take a decision without consulting the other elements of the government concerning a man whose passport has been revoked and against whom your government has blue corner notices, you're again acting improperly. There are multiple levels of impropriety. Where do you start defending this lady?
Karan, I think when you have a humanitarian question that needs to be answered, it's a call that that the minister has to take. And in this instance, I think the minister has made a I think the party stands by her totally, solidly, because every humanitarian call requires some discretion to be used. And in this case, I think the grounds on which such a assistance or such a consideration was sought were considered to be very appropriate.
Can I interrupt?
Our party totally stands by this.
Can I interrupt and put a simple point to you? You're saying that this is all justified on humanitarian grounds. The humanitarian ground being that Mr. Modi needed to accompany his wife to Portugal to sign the consent papers.